promised you a video on this. With our 2-hour delay, we ran out of some time, so we got through some of the beginning ones. This will be for the last part. Just remember that base and height are perpendicular to find area of a triangle. And then the formula is area equals 1/2 base times height, no matter what. So I'm going to go right to this example. If the easy one, this is the easy version. We know the base and height because the base and height in a right triangle are always the legs. 1/2 base times height. You can use a calculator, but 1/2 times 2 is 1. This ends up being radical 33 miles squared. You can do the decimal on your calculator, that's fine with me. You need to ask your teacher if they're using this, if they want a decimal or not. Okay, a little bit more difficult. Again, we want to make sure we know the base and the height, which are the legs in a right triangle. Well, in this case, we do not have the legs, we have one. So this is what I would say you want to do. Write down 1/2 base times height, and no, I need to find the height, so you don't forget to put in the right numbers. So we have 5 squared plus h squared equals 7 squared. This is an application of what you've been doing with Pythagorean theorem problems. So the height is the square root of 24. So I go back to my height formula, take out the height, put in the square root of 24. Depending on what calculator you have to simplify, 1/2 times 5 times 2 radical 6 is going to be 5 radical 6, which the decimal value would be 12.2 meters squared. Okay, we got to most of those. Now, given an isosceles triangle, again, you have the base, we need to get the height. So we did the first one, let's do the next two together here. So remember that this altitude here splits the base in half. So I have my area formula, 1/2 the base times the height. I just need to find this height. So I'm only going to look at the little part of this triangle here. So that's h squared plus 5 squared equals 13 squared, and solve that. You might recognize that as one of the Pythagorean triples of 5, 12, 13, or you can just do this and solve it. So the height is 12. Go back, plug it in. 60 feet squared. Units are important. That's feet times feet. Most common mistake is to put this 5 right here instead of 10. So that's why I always write the area formula with what you know first. Same thing here. Second one, area equals 1/2 base, and I need to go find the height. And then I can find the height. 3.5 squared plus the height squared equals 8 squared. This is going to be a decimal. I'm going to use this decimal. The height ends up being about 7.2. So your area is around 25.1. Just going to keep this video short, keep moving. Centimeters squared. Now on the back, base and height, all we need to do for that is use trig. So again, following the same format, area equals 1/2 the base times the height. In this case, the height is x. Go back, tangent of 55 equals x over 14. That's the equation we've been solving. X equals approximately 20. Plug it in, multiply together. Area equals 1/2 base times height. Don't have the base, go find it. This is tan 48 equals 11 over x. Just remember, this one is my x and my tangent 48 will switch places because we're dividing, because the x is in the denominator. That's our shortcut. You figure out on your own what that number is. Ends up being about 9.9, I believe. Plug it in. The last one I like the best. We don't have the base or the height, so I'm going to put a y in here. So my area here is 1/2 x times y, or y times x. So I'm going to write a formula using 37, opposite hypotenuse. So the sine of 37 equals x over 20. And then the cosine of 37 equals y over 20. So I'm going to find x and y and plug those in. When you find those, your answer should end up being 96 units squared. So go ahead and write, finish those things, solving them out, but check your answers. But there's the notes for the extra stuff. Pythagorean triple, and I have a slide for this I'll put on Canvas. But if you, what I would like you to do since you're on your computer is just search it. What is Pythagorean triple, and find some. We've already seen some. 3, 4, 5. We saw 5, 12, 13. There's 1, 7, 24, 25. Basically, they are just numbers that work out nicely in the Pythagorean theorem. They're just integer values. So 5 squared plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. They show up a lot of places, and they make things nice for shortcuts and finding multiples. Pythagoras is the original one, 3, 4, 5, with how the legend goes. Okay, so then the bottom of this paper says variables r and s represent the lengths of the legs of a right triangle, and t is the hypotenuse. So right away on each of these, I think you're smart just to draw a picture. R, S, and T. And then plug in what you know. It's almost like there's a hint that's there that says draw the picture. R, S, T, and these are all triples, and so you'll find a few more triples, and then you can find the area of those problems just like we did before. So that's your notes, abbreviated notes. I will get a video later on the half sheet review that has some challenging problems on it. It kind of puts them all together like our warm-up.